let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. Martin Luther King Jr. I chose this quote to start off the video because a lot of you are going to come into this video with bitterness and hatred in your hearts, because I know you don't want to believe that Pablo from Backyardigans is entirely based off of Pablo Escobar. But I can assure you, at the end of this video, you will be presented with so much evidence and reasoning that you will not be able to deny the facts. The creators of Backyardigans based Pablo the Penguin off of Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar. This video is going to be separated into a few different sections. First, I'm going to present you some basic general ideas that will get you warmed up to the idea of the double Pavlovian theory. Now, I don't expect that you'll fully believe me after watching these, but trust me, you have to keep watching. Second, I'm going to show you some specific examples from the show that are nearly indisputable. At this point, you should fully be into the possibility of the theory, but you'll be questioning, why? Why would the writers base a character in a children's TV show off of a Colombian drug lord and narco-terrorist? So finally, I'll be providing reasoning for why the writers actually clearly intended this by going a little bit into their personal lives. Now, I can absolutely 100% guarantee you that after watching this entire video, you are going to at least believe that Pablo from Backyardigans was inspired by Pablo Escobar minorly. Now, I can't assure you that he's the exact same person, but trust me when I say to watch the video, as there is some absolutely shocking evidence. I can guarantee that. Of course, if you enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, because a very small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed to me. And I mean, I put in multiple hours of my day into comparing a penguin and a drug lord. Section number 1. Subtle ideas. Suspicious behavior. Pablo has always been one of the most interesting characters on this show. He's a very timid and suspicious character who always seems to be hiding something, as if there are some secrets in the backyard. Maybe he's hiding cocaine in the backyard? No, not at all. That's really stupid. It's a children's TV show, right? Yeah, and Pablo Escobar wasn't even known for bearing cocaine. But he was known for bearing one thing: money. So much money, in fact, that he, at one point, was the 7th richest person on the planet. Why does that matter? Well, we'll get into that later, but let's talk about some more suspicious things that Pablo could be doing. Alter egos. Pablo the Penguin is often referred to as King Pablo, while Mr. Escobar is often referred to as the King of Cocaine. Well, I mean, King isn't that... Wait. Pablo Escobar is often called King Pablo as well. However, being called king of something isn't that uncommon, but like, King Pablo? Kinda sus. The documentary. Episode 1 of Backyardigans aired on October 11th, 2004, just over a month after the documentary of the private archives of Pablo Escobar was released on September 9th of this same year. Now, if we take the average time in between each season, divided by the number of episodes in each season, we can find that the average time to write an episode of Backyardigans was 1 month. The exact perfect amount of time for the writers to get an idea for a character and add it into the show. Of course, Pablo was already in the pilot episodes of the show, but I believe that they based Pablo off of Mr. Escobar, starting with the actual episode 1 of season 1, as opposed to the pilots. Panic.
Oh boy,
Pablo.
how am I gonna get across?
Pablo.
Oh boy, I don't know about
Hello?
this. Oh,
Pablo!
Starting with episode 1, released 1 month after the documentary, Pablo undergoes some sort of panic attack in nearly every single episode of season 1. Before the documentary was released, this never happened. So why? Why did it start to happen around season 1? Well, Pablo Escobar surrendered to authorities and was extremely distressed in that situation, just as Pablo the Penguin was in Season 1. Now, Escobar's panic was highlighted in the documentary, so I believe that the Penguin's distress was possibly based on this documentary. The timing is just a little too convenient. Hippopotamuses. Pablo Escobar was known for importing hippopotamuses to Colombia. Off of, pure coincidence, there's a yellow hippopotamus named Tasha who plays a massive role in the show. It's kind of odd to add a character who's such an obscure animal to the show and give them such a big role, unless there was a meaning behind it. Now, I'm sure you think I'm completely stretching right now, and to be fair, I would think that too, had I not seen the concrete evidence that I am about to present to you. It is genuinely hard to believe that the Penguin is not at least mildly based off the narco-terrorist after seeing this. So let's get into the real stuff. Section 2. Concrete evidence. Season 3, Episode 6, Chicken Eats a Pizza. When I hear anything about the Backyardigans, I think of Pablo the Penguin. And that's completely fair. And I think most people who know anything about the Backyardigans can agree that Pablo is by far the most popular character, and definitely the main character. So, if the writers were to take him out of an episode, there's got to be a very solid reasoning, right? I think we can agree that the main character of a show can be in every episode unless there's some major conflict. And Pablo is in every single episode of the 80-episode series. Except for one. Chicken eats a pizza. So what does that mean? What happened in this episode that may have led him to not being in it? This episode takes place in Colombia. This is the only episode in the entire damn series that takes place in Colombia, and he just happens to not be in it? What? What? Okay. Well, it's no secret that Pablo Escobar is from Colombia, and it's no secret that he's a wanted man. So Pablo would not want to be present in a place where he could possibly be sent to jail, or maybe he already is in jail. Maybe he wasn't able to run a pizzeria because he was a convicted felon. Well, no, that's completely ridiculous, and honestly, I highly doubt that the writers genuinely thought about that. But why would the writers just randomly decide to take out their main character in one episode of an entire show? The same episode that is the only one to take place in Colombia. I just think it's too much of a coincidence to go unnoticed. I mean, whatever the reasoning is, there's definitely a connection between Pablo the Penguin and Colombia. If that doesn't show you that the Penguin and the narco-terrorist are at least mildly related, then let's move on to the next example. Season 1, Episode 1, Pirate Treasure. Earlier, I touched on a point about Pablo potentially burying money in the backyard, but at the time, it just seemed too dumb to be real. Why would a penguin have money? There's no evidence that he was rich. Or, there was? And it's inarguable. In the first aired episode of the Backyardigans, Tyrone and Pablo find a treasure map. Tyrone exclaims that pirates have come to the backyard, and that he brings up the idea of becoming a pirate. Pablo is extremely excited to become a pirate, but he claims that Tyrone can keep all the gold and money they get, as he doesn't need it. Why doesn't a fucking penguin need money? What possible reason would he not want more money? I mean, that's stupid. Only super rich... And it's not even like he comes out and explicitly says he's being a quote-unquote good friend or whatever BS they would say in a normal kids show. Which makes me think that they're really trying to emphasize that Pablo doesn't need money because he's already rich. You know who was the 7th richest man on Earth at one point? Pablo Escobar, with a net worth of around $25 billion. He wouldn't need the money either. Season 4, Episode 5, Dragon Express. Now, this one is going to sound completely insane and possibly one of the stupidest things you've ever heard in your life, until I explain it. And then it's going to sound almost refutable. You ready? Well, in Season 4, Episode 5, the Dragon Express delivery service is 100% based off the Medellin cartel, and it's not even a question. Okay, now that I've gotten that into your mind, let me actually prove it. The Medellin cartel was a powerful and highly organized Colombian drug cartel and terrorist-type criminal organization originating in the city of Medellin, Colombia, founded and led by none other than King Pablo himself. Pablo Escobar, that is. The cartel smuggled millions of dollars of cocaine daily into countries around the world, the notable countries, of course, being Mexico, the United States, and the more unusual one and lesser-known one, Norway. In fact, Norway had one of the highest per capita smuggling rates of any other country in the world, according to the documentaries about the cartel. Remember that. The cartel was one of the first cartels known for sneaking in their product via flight. Prior to their success, most cartels were known for smuggling drugs through land or sea vehicles. They were known for revolutionizing smuggling via flight. Remember that. The Medellin cartel couldn't do all of this work without any assistance, though, so they brought in many other gangs to help them out. And what do you think the name of the most notorious gang that helped them smuggle in more money than any other gang via flight was? The Chinese-American gang known as the Flying Dragons, also known as the Dragon Jocks. The Dragon Express episode is entirely based off of Pablo creating an express flight delivery system with the help of flying dragons. They claim that they are quote-unquote revolutionizing the delivery system with these dragons. And in case you aren't convinced yet, they even sing a song named Dragon Jock while talking about these dragons. This is not a fucking coincidence. Oh, and I almost forgot. This episode just happens to take place in Norway, the same unusual country that had the highest per capita smuggling rate in the entire world for the Medellin cartel. Now, I don't believe that this show's intention was to glorify what Pablo Escobar did, or even make a statement about it. But I am 100% confident that the writers were at least influenced to make Pablo the Penguin related to Pablo Escobar in some way, shape, or form. So, why would they do this? Section 3. Why? There's really no good reason that a random writer for a children's TV show would want to have one of their main characters based on Pablo Escobar. Right? Like, that's just stupid. Maybe it was an inside joke in the office, or maybe it was something that they thought nobody would notice. And it was just something that made writing the show a little bit more interesting. No, it's not even close to that. I really enjoy a big adventure. I think Die Hard is one of the greatest films ever, not to mention Terminator 2. I like those big films. I wanted to bring some of that fantastical nature to young children, but to do it in a way that is safe, hopefully not scary, and not imitatable, except in your head. Introducing young children to reality outside of their bubble is something I think is really important. If there's a way to present real-world issues to them without bringing them worry, then I am all for it. Janice Burgess, on the inspirations for the Backyardigans. What in the hell did I just discover? The lead writer for the Backyardigans literally comes out and says that she wants to show young children real-world issues without worrying them. That is it. That is literal proof that this whole stupid theory is not just stupid, and that it's actual, real, concrete evidence. Now, I don't know exactly what pieces of evidence from the show are actually meant to be Pablo Escobar based, but I can tell you, there is no way that this woman grows up knowing about Pablo Escobar, writes in the main character of the show as someone named King Pablo, adds multiple different references to Colombian gangs, money, smuggling, hippos, panic, alter egos, and even goddamn hippopotamuses, and then claims that she wants to base the show off of real-world issues without worrying kids. If she were to make it more obvious that Pablo is partially based on a Colombian drug lord, wouldn't adults be worried about their kids watching the show? Wouldn't they not want them watching it? It only makes sense that Burgess would add just enough evidence to introduce kids to something, but not too much where anyone would consciously really come out and say anything about it. So yeah, there you go. That's why I believe that Pablo the Penguin is based off of the deceased narco-terrorist Pablo Escobar. You can feel free to disagree with me, but just consider the evidence and move along with your day. Anyways, I spent hours researching evidence for this video, so considering the fact that you just watched the whole thing, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. And that's all. Thank you, and goodbye.